Good morning. This is Professor Anderson with a little bit of feedback for your writing assignment number 1, rough draft. So I want to share with you, I do kind of like a 2-phase for feedback and assessments. The first I call the nuts and bolts. I just visually scan a paper to make sure all the components are there. So I see you have all 4 sections. That section number 1 is in paragraph form, number 2 is in a list form, 3 is in a table, and 4 is in paragraph form. And that's just the general. And then the second phase is what I call the nitty-gritty, or a little more of a fine-tooth combing, and that goes over the content or the substance inside of each of those. So I want to take a look at your background now, or your background information of your where you work, and you tell me where it is that you work, but and you tell me that what your specific tasks are. How many people are located in your office? I noticed that you have various locations. But are there 10 employees that work there, 1 doctor, 2 physicians, 3 nurses? Just give a quick example of the number of people and about how many patients do you see in a day, because you need to detail the type of environment as well as the kind of communication that takes place. I need you to go back and double check all of this with respect to grammar. I want to read you this first sentence. I work in a medical building in a doctor's practice in Annapolis, Maryland. Perfectly good. Subject verb. Here, right here where you have doctor's practice, is it multiple physicians or 1 doctor? Because the practice is the noun and doctors here works as like an adjective to describe it. If it's more than 1 doctor, you would have doctor with the S and then the apostrophe after it, because that belongs to them. It shows possession. If it's just 1 doctor, you would have doctor apostrophe S, because that shows the possession. It's that 1 doctor's practice. So that's one of them. We have multiple offices, so the location could vary or often varies. My positions is front office assistant. So my position is as the front desk office assistant. The tasks I complete are included, my daily tasks include, but are not limited to, checking in patients, blah, 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 blah. Let me read this. Checking patients in, taking co-payments, collecting on previous balances, answers and screens calls, makes patient appointments, takes messages. What I want you to take a look at is the way you've listed these items in a series. This is called what's known as parallel structure. When you have items in a series, like here, you have multiple tasks. You need to make sure that they're all in the same format. Here you have checking, taking, collecting. This should be answering, screening, making, taking, redirecting, communicating. All of them should be in the same format. Or checks, patients, takes, payments, collects, previous, answers, screens. So pick one or the other, but right now you have them blended together. You want to just pick one. Here you have your specific inhibitors. What I recommend that you do is, while this is bold, the label, take the definition and or example and unbold that, so that there's a differentiation between the label of the barrier and the definition of them. So you have all of those in what we call parallel structure in terms of that form. Here you have your incidence itself. So here's a specific example, the inhibitor in play, and then an analysis of why this was this inhibitor. And I'm not sure what this channel barrier would be, so you want to describe that a little more. So when I arrived, on a busy morning, I arrived and checked my email for provider changes. There were 100 additional emails. I missed my morning email. So on this particular day, you went to the other emails and not the morning email first. I'm not sure which one it is. So you want to make sure that you define or sort of give me a little more description of that. So there were 100 emails since the day before, and I visually overlooked the morning email. Therefore I was unaware of the changes. So that channel barrier, I wonder if this is not sure how that barrier would come into play in terms of being a channel barrier. I'm not quite certain how that would work, but I just want I think I would have you go back and recheck that title before you label that specific one. I'm not sure where it would fall. Just I'm uncertain of how that channel barrier. I understand what you're trying to say is that there's too much information in here. I get that. But I'm not sure what that inhibitor would be called. I'm getting a little kind of mixing them up right now. Maybe check. Gosh, there's not one called maybe misinformation. I'm not sure. Supervisor sent an email about being on the wrong interpretations. I get this. That's a great example. And then your environment. To see this kind of information here, that very specific should be up in the very at the very beginning of your paper in that background information. Like sometimes we have one from 100 to, from 25 to 100 patients on a daily basis. Okay, so then we go down here to you give a 90% for overall effectiveness. Here, what you want to do is remove these prejudicial types of statements, like I think. The purpose of this paper is to evaluate your situation and give factual substance to each of the scenarios. So you want to say, in our office is at a 90% effective rate. Although we're overwhelmed with emails, the performance of the task by the end of the day is completed. Although we have, an overabundance of patients at our front desk and it's crowded, we are able to check them all in. So what you want to do, this is like your data table. You're giving a situation, labeling it, and then giving the reasoning behind it. And so this is your facts that you're collecting to substantiate why your communication is effective or not effective. And so you want to be able to use this information to support down here. And you want to take away any personal opinions or understandings of that. You want to take them and you just want to give the facts for each of them. So statements like I think, or I wonder if, or it could be, those can be, those are emotionally laden, opinion-based beginnings of sentences. You just want to say 95%, give very specific numbers that will support your information. So I hope that was helpful, and I look forward to reading your final copy.